So working with a D2 women's basketball player, she came to me and said, I really, really have this strong desire. I'm super motivated to make the all conference team my senior year. And she's like, but I'm really struggling. I'm not quite meeting the mark, right? I'm not like getting to the points per game that I know are going to get me there. And she said, I'm finding myself during the games looking up at the scoreboard that has individual points listed for each player. Some of the scoreboards list, number 12 has this many points, and it's updated live, right? And so she was really focusing on the wrong thing. And so we talked through how can you overcome that. And one of the things that I used in talking to her about this focus problem was we need to shift the focus away from the scoreboard, obviously, and onto more relevant things. But what worked really well for her to get her into her comfort zone while playing was that she wanted to focus on the feeling of the shot. Because she thought when you're just sitting in any place, you're not performing the skill, you could actually think about what is the feeling in my muscles of that movement, right? You could imagine that. And so without like teaching her about imagery and visualization, I kind of said, just imagine what it feels like to shoot the perfect shot that you like, when it leaves your hands, it's going in. And so every time you get the ball and you're getting ready to shoot, I want you to just channel that type of a feeling rather than having a thought about it. So we're shifting her focus to the body and what she's feeling rather than looking at the scoreboard and worrying about that.
Yeah, so two main things that I heard there was that first, it sounds like this athlete, this D2 basketball athlete, was focused more on destination or sort of an ego mindset, which is to say that she was focused more on an outcome than on the process itself. So she was more concerned about putting up a certain points per game average, or even in the game, she was focused more on how many points she had scored rather than probably whether or not they were even winning or anything else. She was fixating on that. So it sounds like you were able to help shift her mindset to more of like a growth or a mastery mindset oriented mindset, where she's focused now more on how I'm performing and then letting the results end up where they are,
Yeah.
which ultimately I think you and I both know that the results are going to be better if we focus on the process than if we focus on the destination.
Yes.
And the second thing is, it sounds like you were basically guiding her from taking a theoretical concept, which is to say imagery and visualization, and not really explaining that to her too much. I mean, maybe you kind of touched on briefly sort of what this is that we're working on, and then you helped her to implement that. In other words, just focus on what the feeling of the shot is. So in the game, but then also like as I'm sitting here in my bedroom, recording this podcast, I have played basketball. You've played basketball. We can probably both, having not really much practice doing this, like I can get the feeling of what it feels like to shoot a basketball right now. And the scientific literature, I believe, shows that mentally practicing, our brain can't really tell the difference between physically and mentally practicing. So if you were able to get her to practice that mental exercise when she wasn't playing, that probably translated into her performing better on the court. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think for her, a lot of it was what you talked about with the shift in her perspective. And I just want to emphasize too that this was not an athlete who was selfish. She was a team player. She did not want the spotlight on her at all. So her focus was maybe a little bit out of character for her. She recognized that this is my last season as, playing college basketball. I want to be recognized. And just that tiny little shift in her, like what her normal focus was, kind of made a big difference for her.
Yeah. Now I'm interested to know, did she make the all-state team or the all-conference team or whatever it was?
Yeah, I think she did. She was a phenomenal player. So yeah, she ended up really excelling the last part of the season, and was really helpful in terms of me reflecting on my own skill set and like, oh, this is something that could be really valuable for athletes.
Yeah, sounds like that was a great technique that you used with that athlete and helped her achieve her goals. So, sort of a testament to what sports psychology and mental performance coaching can do in actuality for athletes. So
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.